you both are so like nervous that you're giving me nervousness now. Is it a communicable disease? I don't know.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can see her. Can you see her?
Hello. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for participating in this webinar. I can see around 15 people have logged in. So, yeah, it's 4 p.m. So, let's start with it, and I hope to see more people around. I'm Shruti Nayak from Naman, and thank you for being part of this webinar. And we will be talking about why, as humans, we need a push to think positively. So before we go on and well deep into that, why that positive emotions are required or why we need to think positively, let me introduce myself to you and something more about Naman, and then we can go ahead with it. Naman is a 14-year-old organization, and we partner with different companies to cater their human resource needs. We are into assessments where we kind of help them into individual assessments or organization assessments, like virtual ACs, assessment centers, 360 degree feedback, and organizational diagnostic studies. We also partner with companies for doing our consulting work in terms of helping them set up their HR systems and policies. Our USP is in setting up performance management systems. And we also are into developing where we cannot take up end-to-end process of learning and development, right from identifying the training needs to delivering the trainings, designing the trainings, and maybe at some stage is also kind of doing an impact study to say whether those learning and development initiatives have helped individuals or organizations achieve the objectives with which the entire initiative was designed. I have been fortunate to be part of Naman since last 9 years, prominently in the assessment sectors and handling strengths-based development interventions and initiatives. As I was saying, since part of the strengths-based development initiative, one thing which always kept in my mind was if we see the benefits associated with positive thinking, why is it that humans need a push to think positively? And hence today I take this opportunity to share my thoughts around and some background study or research which I have done through literature in terms of why and how, if you think positively, can really help ourselves as individuals and organizations do better. The focus will be more on the individual part. So before we begin, some quick, I think some ground rules that we would like to follow in this webinar is, I may take about 30 minutes of your time to share my thoughts around why we as humans need to think positively, and post which maybe another 15 minutes for question answers or any observations as an audience you all have. There is a live chat box which you can see on your screen on the right side of the screen. Feel free to share your thoughts, your observations, and your questions. That's I think that's about it, and let's start about it. So as I was saying, if you see there are so many positives associated with positive thinking, why is it that we need a push? Don't mind because I have made some notes for my reference. So if kind of maybe I take some time to quickly look into my notes to share my thoughts around it. So pardon me for that if I'm not kind of looking into the screen. So yes, I was saying why the benefits. So let's first start with some basic ways of how our thoughts, how our emotion functions. So let's say if we go back to the evolutionary theory also, we see that as human beings, one of the basic needs of human beings is survival. And survival being the basic need, I think the first thing which comes to my mind, no harm needs to cause to me. And hence, we start with the battle that how do I protect myself? And I think that is where the negativity or the negative emotions play a key role. that what if something goes wrong, what will I do, and how will I treat with it? And hence, the negative emotions take over our positive emotions, which also kind of leads us to the fact that as human beings, we are predisposed and we are naturally wired to think negatively, right? So also, when I say naturally wired means what happens exactly? Consider the fact that we have the basic emotions which are developed, which are like described or written in the books of psychology, like anger, fear, disgust, surprise, sadness, right, and happiness. Out of the six emotions, four of them are negatively connoted, which are like disgust, fear, sadness, right? So if it is so, which means that as social creatures, we always want to protect ourselves, and hence these negative emotions played a very key role, and and I think has irrespective of our culture, our clan, or the age or we belong to, we tend to think negatively. I would also at this moment of time, I want to just quickly share. Some quick studies that I had was going through, and one of the studies which really interested me was there was a study conducted by Professor Robert S. From the University of Penn State. He's a professor in the linguistic department, and he was just interested in knowing how emotions get expressed, and if we ask people to kind of choose words how they would like to describe themselves, what were those words they expressed. So from people of Chicago and Mexico City, he asked them to list some names, what comes to their mind when they think of emotions first. And once he collected those words, they were further categorized as positive, negative, and neutral. Though no surprise, but very interesting fact for us to know that when his group, he himself and his group of the professor categorized those words, what they found out was 50% of those emotion words which they categorized were into negative emotions, 30 were around positive, and only 20 were neutral, which further highlights or further kind of strengthens the belief that as human beings, we are wired or we are predisposed to thinking, I would say, negatively. Again, that first question which comes to my mind is why? Because I personally feel that negative emotions has helped us in many ways, which has not only which has helped us in many ways as well as helped us achieve certain things in our life. So let's say, for example, negative emotions, as I would feel that helps us prepare for the risk associated. For example, could be it helps me think what if something doesn't work, so I prepare myself well for that particular situation. It helps me prepare for the battle. It helps me see that what if I do not win, or what I need, or what if I lose, then what will happen. Secondly, my negative emotions, I would say, also helps me to think about what will go wrong, and that kind of that kind of responses help me manage situations more in a better manner, more well to do. Whereas if you look at the positive side or the positive emotions, or when you think positively, what happens is maybe they not only helps us to see what are the opportunities or what I need to do to win. But many a times, the researchers have said that positive emotions at times leads individual to be relaxed about the situation and giving a message to the person that everything is going well, and you really did not bother about something. It's fine, which can lead or likely to lead into something called as either optimistic bias, or maybe leading to some kind of a complacency the way the individual is dealing with the things in life. And probably that could be one of the reasons where humans tend to think more negatively than positively. Also, I would like to bring to your attention to let's also see and understand how our brain works, right? How our brain works when we are thinking positive and how we are thinking negative. Because we say, no, brain is our like the computer. There is an input and there is a output around it. So how the brain functions and how the processes happens in the brain, which helps us do certain things in a positive manner or in a negative manner. So there is a system in the brain called as limbic system. Basically, the system which controls how we feel about certain things. It helps us identify our emotions, controlling our emotions, and recognizing those emotions. But mind it that there are two different neural pathways in the brain for thinking and how we feel about certain things, and there are two different functions in the brain. Thinking is different, it's called maybe technical term as cognitions, and emotions as technically called as how the affect neural pathways work. Being social creatures, survival, as I have been repeating again and again, is one of our basic needs. Emotions, basically, when they are generated as a response to a certain situations. So, for example, let's say if someone betrays you, one don't choose to feel bad or good about it. You just feel bad about it that he or she has betrayed me. Let's say someone surprises us with a gift. We don't really sit and choose that I need to feel happy about it. It's more about I feel happy, which also takes us to a point that our emotions lead us to how we think about certain situations, which further helps us choosing our actions and how I want to deal with it, what actions I need to take up in the given situations, which also means that our neural pathways, which are controlling our emotions, are much faster than the pathways which are controlling our thinking process. I used the word process. And yes, thinking is a process, right? And emotion is a being, is how I feel about certain thing at that given moment. And hence, I personally feel that we don't, and also generally, if you see, we don't really give people inputs in terms of how you need to feel about certain things. We give them inputs on how you need to think about certain things. Because thinking, though as human beings, we are considered irrational, but if we also go about some of the behavioral therapies, which in the field of psychology has developed, focuses a lot on the cognition, that how if we can really wire people to think about certain things can really help them manage situations well. Which means that though we may not have control over how we feel about certain things, because emotions are our automated responses to situations. And a beautiful, and I think a very common thing which I often quote in my coaching sessions or in my program is, there are about, let's say, 7 or 8 people I have. Situation is same, right? But what I see that each one of us are responding differently to those situations, which means that a very important human factor plays a role there, because each one of us perceive or feel about the situation differently, and then we kind of process that information, whether it is good, bad, or what I need to do about it, and then I act on that situation, that what is it that I want to do about it. So thinking can, in reverse, can also impact the way I am feeling about certain situations. So it works in both the ways. But and hence, as humans, I would quote is we need to push to think positively, right? And saying that, I feel that we can first thing which I may want to kind of conclude here is that though feeling positive or feeling negative, or thinking positive or thinking negative, which we say that optimism or pessimism is a state of mind which look can be looked up as one of the unconditioned state of mind, but which can be further conditioned. It is very much possible that we can condition it for our own benefits or the benefits for the people around. Um, and hence we say that because, as I was quoting, brain is like a computer which can be really conditioned. Technically, the word is called neuroplasticity. Is that if we kind of help people identify what works for them, what's right for them, we can really help people look at the things from a different perspective, look at the things from different angles, help them look at the positive sides of the situations, and help them manage around their situations in life in a much better manner. And hence, yes, as humans, we need to put in more efforts to think positively about situations. Having said that, I think maybe your, as I was saying earlier, that negativity or thinking negative about certain situation has also garnered us with some, I would say, favorable outcomes. But then, while especially in today's time, where we see that there are a lot of what I would say, a lot of stress is there, a lot of competition is there, and we see that people talking a lot about I'm stressful, I don't know what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and then we see that in terms of whether in the field of spirituality or in the philosophy or in the organizations or in schools at a children level, we keep pushing people saying that okay, we need to think positive, we need to do things which are uh, more helpful for individuals to do well. So one of the quick differences here would be that when I think negative, I think I'm also considered someone who is always a part of the problem. I keep talking the language of what if things don't do well, I will be in a problem. Something will go wrong. So I'm kind of talking a language which really doesn't sound good and maybe not help self and others motivate to do things. But when I'm a part of that positive thinking, when I think positively, usually we see people talking the language of, oh, let's look at the different ways of doing things. I'm always seen as a part of the solution. So let's not focus on what is the problem is. Let's focus on what can be done in the current situation. Let's look at the alternatives available with us to deal with the situations. My uh, I think negative emotions, they express a feeling like I can't do anything about it. Whereas my positive thinking gives me the strength and tells my, I talk to myself in the language of I have the power to do something about it. I'm not helpless in situations. So negative emotions or negativity or pessimism doesn't really prepare me for the battle. It says that if you don't do these things, you are more likely to be part of the other end. You're likely to lose certain things. Whereas when I'm part or I'm thinking positively, what it helps human being do is you start with the feeling that I'm part of the winning team. I'm a winner. And for me to get there, what all things I have and what all things I can do, which will help me succeed, grow, and do well in my life. And that's where I think was the whole concern in the field of psychology came up in, especially in the Second World War, where when you talk about psychology, the science of human behavior, after Second World War, um, okay, I think before we go to the story of Second World War, about for about 20 minutes, I spoke about how emotions are helping us think and how thinking then helps us act around certain things, or it may act the other way. Let's do a quick exercise here, a small, about a 1 minute, 1.5 minutes exercise, which will give us a first-hand experience on how emotions play a role in thinking, and thinking can further lead to our emotions. So just do what I will do in just some time. So take a pen, right? Okay. All of you have your mobile, right? Take your mobile in hand. Switch on the selfie mode and take your pen first and bite it. Now what you see is a quick smile here for a fraction of a second may actually change how you feel about at that given moment. Or maybe very fraction of a second experience, but it does make a difference. Now let's do the second part of it. Take a pen and hold it up between your upper lip and between the nose, leading to some kind of a frowning face. What happened? At least when I make this facial expression, it kind of gives me a message that something is not right, something is not well, which immediately pops up or gives message to the mind that okay, I need to do something about it. Something is not right here. And that's how I think in today's world of digitalization, we have a lot many emoticons, right? We have different emoticons in places in our mobile phones while we chat with others, and we do not have something called as cogniticons or thoughtcons. I don't know how they might look at it. And yes, and there I think that's where again I would like to bring up to the point that our emotions lead us to think, but thinking is something is very important process. If we are able to kind of consciously uh, work around it, will help us achieve success or do things better in life. So from where this entire school of that's where the entire school of positive psychology came in, and let me take back to the Second World War story which I had started before this exercise. So after somewhere about Second World War, the entire field of psychology focus was on treating the mental disorders and talking about there are mental illnesses and how we can or how we need to treat those mental illnesses to fix up the problems and get away with it. And that's where some of the psychologists who are the believers of the humanistic approach of psychology really were feeling dissatisfied and they were not happy with the entire approach which was going in the field of psychology. And that's where their interest in the field of optimism or I would say positive psychology came into picture. And that's how the research in the positive psychology actually began, where not notable work was done, but that's how the things were happening around it. Martin Seligman, as we all know, is respected and considered as the father of positive psychology. Um, so I feel his epiphany, where which kind of helped him give uh, what I would say. Okay, let me share the epiphany with you, which gave to the revelation of that why positive psychology and how we need to work on it. So it's called the story of the bed of roses. So one day he was sitting with his daughter and was kind of daughter was playing in the garden where the roses were around. And what he saw was she was at 5. She was around 5 years of age, and she would do something to kind of capture his attention. And what she saw was that the father, Mr. Seligman, kind of turned to her and snapped at her. And she then told him that, Dad, do you know that, do you remember that when I was 3 and 4, how I used to whine when he used to turn towards me and snap at me? I felt bad about the way you responded to me. Now at 5, I have decided to stop doing it because what I realized was if I'm able to stop myself from whining, I think it would also help you and help you to stop grouching at me. I think that was the moment of realization for Mr. Seligman. What he mentioned was that that kind of gave or struck to his mind that, oh, rather than focusing on fixing what was wrong, if we shift our attention to giving inputs in terms of what was right, the change in the behavior can be brought in faster. And also, it will kind of give individuals an empowerment to do things in a different manner, which will lead them or help them feel happy, contented, and very satisfied and very light at the end of the day. And that's how the I think it gave to the rise or the birth to the field of positive psychology. And during his tenure in late 90s as the president of American Psychological Association. This was the theme. This was his theme for his tenure of how do we really make the field of or the school of positive psychology so strong so that especially at a work level, at an individual level, so that we help human beings uh, will really help you focus more on doing things better, feel happy. I think as a human beings, we all have the right to be satisfied, contented, and doing things in a much better way. So that's how the entire, I would say, the positive psychology came in. But just to bring to your attention here, though Mrs. Seligman is seen as popularly known for the bringing in the positive psychology, I would say reaching to the masses, reaching to the hearts of the common man. But there were other contributors also, and we can say that positive psychology as a field can be considered as the fourth ace in the evolution of psychology, and it focuses basically, and the push I would say focuses basically on the three principles, or is based on the three principles. The first principle is that focus on what's right with the individual, then what's wrong. The second principle talks about every individual has a right to be happiness and needs to cater to his well-being needs. And third is every human being has the potential to grow. So rather than focusing on his weaknesses, let's focus on his strengths. And let's focus on the potential of the individual. And apart from Seligman, I would also like to bring to your attention from the field of positive psychology that Seligman was not the first one who kind of propagated psychology. William James and and Abraham Maslow, we all know about the Maslow theory of hierarchy of needs. Both of them initially come from the humanistic approach and contributed very strongly was very strong in terms of bringing in and putting on the base for the field of positive psychology. So they were the main contributors, and hence when Mr. Seligman became the president of APN, he kind of worked extensively on the field of positive psychology, where the popularity kind of grow. And also, please know that Mr. Seligman also made a significant contribution in the field of learned helplessness. And that's how, while he was writing his book around it, he kind of spoke about that how optimism can really help individuals grow. Apart from this, I also see that there were other influential researchers who have contributed significantly in the field of positive psychology, which we all know. We all, as psychologists at least, we have heard a lot about is Albert Bandura, who proposed a theory of self-efficacy, and Dr. Donald Clifton, who is known as the father of strength psychology. Dr. Donald Clifton worked extensively in the field of strength psychology, and along with a group of Gallup psychologists, he discovered a very interesting tool called Clifton Strengths, because if you talk about positive psychology, help individuals identify their potential, help identify what's right with the person, the next logical question would always, I at least would ask, is how do I really help people, or how do I know what my potential is, what my strengths are? And Donald Clifton has done extensive work in the field of strength psychology. And with, as I was said, with the help of Gallup psychologists, there's a tool called Clifton Strengths Finders, where individual, when they take up, they receive a report on their top 5 or 34 themes. And with the help of certified coaches and the strength psychologists, one may take the benefit of how you can really garner them and how you can really nurture these talent themes to help people do things which they are really good at, taking them to the heights where they can reach to their highest potential, feel contented, feel happy, and do things well. Okay. That's one other thing at Naman. I really feel fortunate that I'm a part of the stress-based development interventions, where most of our interventions at Naman we see are strengths based, where the entire program or the entire organization development initiatives are basis on the what's working. Let's say at an organizational level, when we are doing the work, we generally would ask during our interviews that what's working in the organization, what has helped the organization do really well, and what the people feel are the USPs of the organizations, and basis which I would say the entire intervention is designed. That's one part of it. Also, I also said that when I talk about individuals, also during our coaching sessions or during our programs, we help them do exercise where we, now let's say not using a psychometric test, but in general doing the work, asking what do you think are the areas they are good at, and how they feel having worked on those areas have helped them achieve successes in the past, and how they would really want to kind of bring in those areas and actions to things which they are currently facing challenge of. uh, Believe me, my experience is that the simple revelations that I have the power to handle my life better because I have done it in the past, and if I do it, will help me do things well, has contributed immensely in the way people have started looking at the things. And I see people coming back again and again saying that, oh, I never thought about it. And I really learned that if it's only a matter of change in my perspective that can help me do things in a very different way. Um, but only at the ending note, I think one thing, and I would this has really helped people do things well, you know. And at times I don't really have words for that how happy it makes me feel that I'm fortunate to be part of such initiatives. I'm a part of this journey where I'm not only feeling positive or thinking positive, but also a part of a journey where I am able to contribute to someone's growth or someone's development, and in turn is helping me grow and helping me think. But at the ending note, what I would say before I take up, because I see on the live chat there are many questions and observations coming in. At the end, what I would like to say here, or end my thoughts around that, why human needs to think need to push to be think positively is, believe me, both negativity and positivity are very much part of each one of us because we are born with both the sides. It's just that we are predisposed and we are wired to think negatively to prepare ourselves for the worst of the consequences. But if each one of us start realizing that we also have another tool, that is the positivity tool, and if we are able to identify it and we are able to help each other identify it, the world can become a beautiful place to stay in. And hence, some of the tips which I at times use in my day to day life to make me feel positive is what I would like to share here. It's not like the normal theoretical or sounding very idealistic in nature. So, let's say when we are writing an email, and usually at the end of it, we write, have a good day. Just try to make a change and write, create a good day. This is what I learned from one of my friends. When I read it for the first time, create a good day, I think the message that I got from it, yes, I have the power to create a good day. When I say have a good day to someone, I think there is an implied meaning that maybe you may not. So the power lies with somebody else and not within me. So that's one of the exercises I think we all can follow rather than saying have a good day, say create a good day. Second thing which I generally practice is when I begin the day, when I end the day, I kind of express my gratitude to the life, to God, the people around me, because life is very, very precious. I think it's a very precious gift that which we have received from God. So expressing gratitude to the people, to the environment around. When you get up in the morning and just saying yourself, wow, I'm alive, I'm doing things what I want to do, I'm living this life, is a great expression and a great feeling to begin your day with. And before I go to the bed, I just kind of close my eyes, have a quick recap of the day, and I say to myself, wow, I had so good moments. And there were not so good moments of the day as well. And with the not so good moments of the day, I asked myself, what were my learnings? What did I do well? And what else I could have done to manage situation differently, rather than saying, oh, I could have not done anything about it. I think it gives me a much more um, power. It gives me a much more control over the way I would like to lead my life. And maybe sounds too idealistic, but I personally feel maybe when I grow up and by end of the life, when I look back, uh, I would be the most happiest person in the world to say myself that I led my life the way I wanted to lead my life. Um, so with this, I needs to think. Thank you all of you for participating. I may not have time to kind of give input because some questions seems to be similar. So I'll kind of try to address to some of the important ones or some questions which are more similar in nature. Still, for more discussion, what we may do is my email ID is shruti@namanhr.com. You can feel free to contact me or get in touch with me later where we can take things up or discuss things in more detail. So first question I see is Urvi has asked is, how can one manage to positive emotions? So yes, Urvi is a very, I think, very simple but also a difficult task for all of us to do. One of the ways I feel is when I'm feeling negative about something, what I personally would feel that take a pause rather than jumping into certain things. Take a pause, just be with the situation for a while and ask yourself is what this feeling is about. Can you really name your emotion and what exactly I'm feeling about that situation? So first step also comes from that emotional intelligence perspective is can we really name or identify our emotions? So first step is identify. And the next step here would be if you're able to identify what exactly you're feeling about the emotion is, the next question is what is it that you want to do with it? And the controller of the situation and want to give others, I would say, give others the control, then you may not have answer for it. But moving from negative is if I were to feel happy about or good about this situation, what is it that I can do or I would have done to manage around this situation? Maybe you can list down some of the actions you feel that you could have taken or you can take. See the both the advantages and disadvantages of the actions you choose to do, and then maybe take a chance that if I were to feel positive about this situation, what that positive emotion is likely to be, and then I have the answer. Okay, the feeling was not really about the task or maybe about that particular situation. Could be that at times I am not in that currently the state of mind, hence the situation looked like a negative to me. And after that pause, I see that the chances of me moving from negative emotions to positive emotions is easier. I start feeling more happy about it. Is that okay? I did not react to the situation, but I chose to respond, and I feel more happy about the situation. So that's how I will say that negative emotions we can move from negativity to positivity. Next, I have a question. So from Anil. So he says that even after thinking positively, we run into failures. How do you suggest to cope up with the situation? Okay. Um, so thinking and failures, I think there are two different things. First of all, because think thought about what I would be doing. Okay, and failures could be the consequences of the actions I took. And many a times results are not in your hand. What is in your hand is what all efforts have you made to ensure to get to the desired result. So to cope up with this such situation, I think the best way is asking yourself again, or maybe discussing it with someone, a closed one, or just being with yourself and asking, if this is a situation, in a very neutral manner, did I do what all possible was, what did I do everything possible which is supposed to be done, which was in my control? If the answer is yes, I think you will be able to cope up with failures much easier, because you know you did the best you could have done and you did not leave any stone unturned. And the failures are just, that is just one of the results, and then there is some learning around it, or maybe something which you missed doing it, or there is something else which is coming up in your way. And also analyzing that, having said that it is a failure, is it actually a failure, or am I defining it to be a failure? So very important for you to also know that the definition of failure may also add value. So one of the best ways to cope up is identify whether did you do what you are supposed to be doing, and in spite of that, there is a failure. Is it a failure for you, or is it actually a failure, or is it how am I dealing or defining it to be a failure? You'll be better able to manage the situation, and I think will help you or kind of motivate you to move further and do things in a different manner. And I have a last question, second last question. Okay, Nidhi, she has asked a question that how can we manage our towards people situation which can be negative, and how do you move from negativity to positivity? Okay. So Nidhi, I think while the question which Urvi has asked, I think I have kind of answered it, that how you can really move from negativity to positivity. But the first part of the question, how can we really manage your approach towards people which can be negative in nature? There are many ways one can do is, uh, just to be on the lighter side, I think the first question you can ask is how important it is for you, the individual, because lot of it impacts from that. If the person is really important for you, I think it will impact you the more, because you will be in and around the person. So if it is important, then the best thing would be here is kind of find out yourself, how some of his or her actions, or how some of his or her behavior is impacting you, your work, or the way you are doing certain things. It's good to communicate, because without communication, things will not work. And not only express or not only share in terms of how it is impacting you, maybe you also would like to understand the other person's perspective, that from where he or she is coming from, right? So is there an expectation gap, or if you're not understanding the way it is actually, once the communication is done, I think then you may want to kind of share your perspective of how things could have been differently dealt in. And that, I feel, if you have a very open and a transparent communication with such individuals, uh, giving also their own time to look at things from a different perspective, I think you'll be better able to the situation. I should not say this on the social platform. Maybe even after such conversations, if you see there's a consistency in such, the best ways would be, I shouldn't say, but avoid. Avoidance could be another way. First, use the approach motivation, approach style. If doesn't work, maybe avoidance could be one of the ways. So avoidance could be in the term of getting your attention to some other things, so that you don't let things affect you and focus on the things which matters most to you, so that this negativity or these individuals don't really occupy your mind. So that could be the simple and the best way I feel I would have dealt with such situations. By devoting time and resources to positive psychology when human suffering exists, is that not more important than well-being? Okay. So I think the whole premise on which the positive psychology is all about, how can we help individuals how can we help individuals achieve contentment, satisfaction, happiness in life, and that itself is actually taking you not away from the human suffering, but actually helping you to come to the near to the human suffering and really help people who are suffering, to help them deal with situations more positively, help them deal with situations more confident, more coming from near to the human suffering, and help people come out of those suffering and lead a more happy and contented life. So thank you very much for sparing your time, and I hope the session was helpful. Look forward for more responses, I think, from you all. You can, as I said, can get in touch with us or touch with me at shruti@namanhr.com. And we can discuss this. It's a really topic which passionates me. I can actually go on about talking about it. Thank you very much, and create a good day for you. Thank you.